try to remember a time where you believed one thing, but now you believe the opposite of that thing, or you no longer hold that belief. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question. How much of that idea that I hold right now was I exposed to? And I don't want you to think what changed your mind. It doesn't matter what changed your mind. It doesn't matter how your mind was changed. It doesn't matter the process. That's not important. That's irrelevant. What matters is how much of that were you exposed to? Whatever belief you're holding right now, right? How much were you exposed to in the course of the last few years? It's got nothing to do with what you actually initially believed or whatever it is. I want you to think in your head, how much of that was I actually exposed to? So just to let you know, we're not doing a good versus evil here in this video. So we're not saying specific things are good and we're not saying specific things are evil. But what I'm trying to show you is just how, hopefully I can show you and make you realize how little control you have over your thoughts, your feelings, your belief, and your perspective. For my personal experience, let me talk about why exposure is dangerous, because this video is about exposure being dangerous and why it's dangerous. My personal experience. So I'm pretty sure you guys know that people are saying 2026 is the new 2016. And this shocked me because I think a few years back, I was really into retro stuff. So like I was into just like all sorts of retro things. Like I first started off by looking at a few commercials. I would watch like 80s commercials, 90s commercials, and I gave me some sort of nostalgia. And I was like, I kind of like this, you know. I was like really digging into it. And so I started watching more cartoons because I love cartoons. Luckily, that's the one thing I can keep for myself. I love watching cartoons, animation, anime. And so I would just like consume all of this, you know, retro media. And for majority of the time, I really felt alone because it was like, I wish more people really appreciated the 80s, the 90s, retro stuff, because it feels like nobody really gives a damn about these things. And so now we're in 2025 and it really felt niche. It felt like I was within the few people who actually like this content. So it was like, I don't know, like you would get a video with retro aesthetics and it's got like 900 likes or something, very few views. Like it wasn't that popular. And I think a few years back, I actually read an article talking about how retrofuturism is gonna be the new thing. And I was like, where is it? Where is it at? This is the creepy part, because end of 2025, I see a video by this millennial claiming that Gen Z are now trying to copy and steal away their 90s and early 2000s aesthetic, in which I was like, what? I was raised in this aesthetic. I might not have been a teenager, but I certainly was alive. So I'm like, when did this happen? Suddenly I'm seeing videos of everybody talking about how everybody wants to be in the good old days. They want to go back to physical media. And I was like, when did this happen? A few months back, nobody gave a damn about retro aesthetics. Why is that suddenly everybody gives a damn about it now? How did this happen? And I thought to myself, are people just copying me? Is this just a coincidence? Like, am I the chosen one and everybody's just like copying what I want to do? But then something really, I thought of something a few days ago that scared me. So if you think 2023, 2024, 2025, which songs were popular or trending on TikTok? Let's not talk about in charts, just on TikTok and on Instagram. Which were the audios people were using? So if you're talking about Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, if you're talking about Forever Young, Careless Whisper, I know there was this King Chris. If you know King Chris, he's this cosplayer and anime. He does anime content and anime cosplay. And he basically owned He basically owned Careless Whisper because I'm pretty sure he's had at least 100 videos with the Careless Whisper audio, and he popularized it. Could it be that by listening to those things and watching people do edits with those songs, I got this sort of spark for nostalgia? Then it caused me to look up these commercials, and the same thing happened to everybody, like it was happening to everybody else on the low key. And now it's just exploded. And now everybody's into it. Maybe I saw these things. Maybe I have seen these things. Like, I'll just speak upon being Black because I am Black. Like, for example, I would watch I wonder, why is that we live in 2026 and people are still saying racially stereotypical things about Black people? Where are they getting these things? And then upon going into the old stuff and being interested in the old stuff and watching all these old cartoons, and they've got so many things that are racially stereotypical, even just racist. And I'm like, I used to watch this as a kid. How did I not notice this? And this also works as well with incel culture. But before we get into that, let me explain just a little bit what the frog experiment is. So the frog experiment is basically, you take a pot of water, room temperature water, and then you put it on the stove, and then you put the frog inside. So because frogs are cold-blooded, means that their body temperature adjusts to their environment. So because they're cold-blooded, they're not going to feel anything. And then you turn up the stove, so you turn up the heat slowly. Over the course of some time, the body of the frog will adjust its temperature to its surroundings slowly, that by the time the water hits a boiling point, the frog is not going to jump out, and it's not even going to notice that there's a difference. And by the time it notices, it will be dead. Exposure works the exact same way. That's why I say it's dangerous. For example, I thought that I made it my entire personality. Look at the way my videos are edited. I made it my entire personality to be into retro stuff. What do you mean everybody else is into retro stuff? What do you mean everyone else is going into physical media? What do you mean 2016 is a thing again? I thought that was my personality. I'm confused and concerned. The following stuff I'm going to talk about is going to, just a trigger warning. That's what I want to say. We are going to be talking about SA and incel culture. So you can skip these next 2 or so minutes. I'm just going to put the marker on how long it is. Or you can get off on the video if it's not your thing. Rape and incel culture. We need to talk about how many rapists are actually in the world. Very little. A lot less than you think. Like, they probably wouldn't even fit the population of a small town. They would be smaller than that. But okay, then how does it feel like, because if you're a woman, you probably have been SA'd. You probably know somebody who's been SA'd. You probably have been sexually harassed in the streets. Somebody has said an inappropriate comment. So how is this even possible? What happens is, with the spread, especially of technology, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of rage baiters, and you're going to have a lot of trolls who see certain people. And there are also going to be certain people in power who say things that degrade women and who enable rape culture or assault culture. There are going to be TV shows and books and anime and comics that you consume. For example, if you got a kid who likes Batman and he just read or watched The Killing Joke, yeah, I bet he's going to be saying some weird things or getting into some really weird stuff. And I'm going to post a video later on about what incels really are and the history of incel culture, because a lot of people misunderstand what's really going on with incels. So we're going to talk about that and why incels are some of the biggest victims of exposure being used in a negative light. So what does exposure do? Let me give an example. Say you decide to go out into the sunlight every day for 30-40 minutes, and years later, your illnesses and your stress levels have reduced significantly. And somebody asks you, what did you do? And you say, I don't know, I was drinking chai tea or something like that. Or you're going to be like, I don't know, I prayed, I did yoga, when in reality, it's because you're going out in the sun and you had more vitamin D and you had serotonin, and it changed your life over a longer period of time, and you didn't realize that that's what caused this, but you're associating it with other things, but you don't realize. Exposure is the exact same way. When you get exposed to something, it erodes your mind, your subconscious, your personality, your way of thinking. It infects it in some sort of way. And sometimes it's a good way, and sometimes it's a bad way. And this is why we don't realize that we're actually more susceptible to cognitive bias, because this is how cognitive bias is strong, because your brain rewards whatever is familiar. It doesn't reward what you actually want or what you're actually thinking. It rewards what's familiar. So that means whatever you're exposed to the most, that's what you're going to think about the most. That's what you're going to build your personality and your beliefs and your culture off of. So how is exposure dangerous? You may not even realize that this thing is eroding your personality, it's changing who you are. You may not realize that it's affecting other people. For example, say you're one of those incels and you had a really good friend. You got into red pill, and now your friendship is over, potential relationship is over because you got into incel culture, and you don't even know what you did wrong. You feel like you've always thought this way. You feel like you've always believed this thing for your whole life. But if you look back, you really realize that you actually realize that's not it. I didn't always think like this. I didn't always feel like this. Pretend you just like closed up every culture and everything in existence stopped and didn't exist. What would you be? Who would you be? Who would you want to be? Who are you when nobody is watching? Who would you be without pressure? What are your favorite things? What would you like to explore? What's that one thing that's eating away at you that you're thinking about, that you're mesmerized about, but your culture goes against it? The social norms go against it. What are you consuming? What are you buying? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you hanging out with? Where are you? Think about all these things. To conclude this video, I'm going to give you another thought. How would your life have been impacted, negatively or positively, if you continue to hold that belief? So remember the initial thought experiment. We said, what did you initially believe that you no longer believe now? And try to find out anything that you have consumed that held the belief that you believe momentarily, that made you change, what you initially believed. That thing that you used to believe when you were younger, or that you initially believed. What would your life look like right now if you still held that belief? I want you to think of the pros and the cons. It doesn't matter if you believed it was toxic. We're not here to condemn what you were thinking. We can do that in future videos. But what would it be? What would your life be like? Would it affect you in a positive way? Do you think you'd be successful, happier, have more friends? Or would it be the opposite? How much of the world actually influences you, and how much of your personality, your thoughts, your feelings, your belief, your identity, how much of that is actually yours? Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy future videos. If you struggle with CPTSD, trauma, or you want some inner work specifically for trauma-informed people, or that's trauma-informed, you can go to my shorts page and you can watch this. Those are the things that I talk about. Bye.